Okay, class, picking up where we left off at, we were doing C. It says find T when T of T is equal to 25 by hand. What does it mean in this situation? Now, this is actually the case where you would set the whole equation equal to 25. So you will have 25 is equal to 2.48 times the square root of T plus 8.1. And now we would solve for T. So we would subtract 8.1 on both sides. This would give us 16.9 is equal to 2.48 times the square root of T. Now we would divide each side by 2.48. Now when we divide this, this would give us approximately, well, let's just make sure. We would take 6.9, 16.9 divided by 2.48. Now would give us, we would have to round this. This would give us approximately 6.815. That's equal to the square root of T. And then we would take the square of both sides. If you put this in your calculator, this would give us approximately 46.4, which is approximately 46 as far as the years are concerned. So it'll be 25,000 teens will be adopted in 2044. Because remember, this is since 1998. So now, we scroll on to the next page. We have objective 2, a brief review of solving equations for a specific variable. So now, we have T is equal to square root of D over 4, and we want to solve for D. So we're basically saying they want us to get D by itself. So we had T equals the square root of D over 4, multiply each side by 4. So we have 4T is equal to the square root of D. Now we would take the square of both sides, and that will give us 16T squared is equal to D. And that is our final answer. Now we come here to B. We want to get Y by itself. But the first order of business is this here. We need to get rid of this square root. So we'll square both sides. So we will add W squared is equal to 7XZ all over Y. Now we can multiply each side by Y. So we'll have W squared times Y is equal to 7XZ. We'll divide each side by W squared. And our final answer would be Y is equal to 7XZ all over W squared. Now we come here to C and D. Now with C we want to solve for G. So what we need to do here is, I believe that this is an L times G squared over 800. We'll multiply each side by 800. So we will add 800W is equal to these 800s will simplify L times G squared. Now we'll divide each side by L. Matter of fact, let's make this a capital. Well, no, we'll just leave it as L. We got to remember that that's L and not 1. So we will add 800W divided by L is equal to G squared. So now we have to get G by itself, so we would take the square root of both sides. Now, When we take the square root of both sides, we know this side will give us G. Now we have the square root of 800W over L. So now we're going to need a little bit more room. I wrote a little too big, but we would have enough room here. Okay, so now we would take the perfect square because we know this is the square root of 800W over the square root of L. So the highest perfect square in 800 we know is 400. So we have the square root of 400 times the square root of 2W in our numerator and the square root of L in our denominator. And we know this has to be plus or minus because we did the square root on both sides here with an equation. So now we will have plus or minus the square root of 400 is 20 times the square root of 2W all over the square root of L equals G. Now we need to multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of L. And then now we will have plus or minus 20 square root of 2W all over L. Well, actually this should be 2WL, and that equals G. And this is the final answer for this problem. Because remember, this is an L, not a 1, so it'll be plus or minus 20 over the square times the square root of 2WL over L equals G. Now, we go back up here to the last problem. We want to solve for R. So we're going to have somewhat of the same situation here. So what we could do is this here. We would add S is equal to 360A all over pi R squared. So we'll multiply each side by R squared. So we have R squared times S is equal to 360A all over pi. Now, we can multiply, or we could divide, well, let's do this. We'll multiply each side by 1 over S. These S's will simplify out, and that will leave us R squared is equal to 360 times A all over pi times S. Now, we have to get rid of this square off of the R. So we'll take the square root of both sides here. So now we will have R is equal to plus or minus. Now we know we're taking the square root of the numerator and denominator. The highest perfect square in 360 is 36. Then we will have 10 times A here, all over square root of pi S. And we know we have to multiply the numerator and denominator by the square root of pi S because we cannot have the square root in our denominator. So now we have R is equal to plus or minus. The square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 10A times pi S will give 10 pi A S all over pi S. This will be the final answer. And we are done with section 13.5.